What terrible events still haunt you in your soul and need a lawyer because you still don't know if you're overreacting? Story 1 AIO for going to family court over a missed flight. I'm posting this on behalf of my partner, either for reassurance or to correct him. We only have our mothers to ask for advice, and I question if they can be biased. Background: we are a blended family. We met when our two eldest were 1.5 and 2. Our third was born almost 2 years later. We uprooted from our hometown, away from my family, my eldest child's paternal family, in 2022 to move closer to his son. A year into the move, bio mum let us know they were looking to purchase a house 2/3 of an hour away. There was no point staying in a place with no support system if his son was moving, so I moved me and the kids back start of last year for school and to set us up. Partner stayed there until last Christmas when he was given a job opportunity and moved back earlier than he had planned. Bio mum is getting ready to move her family in the next couple of months. Anyways, to the actual issue. They've struggled with co-parenting since the day I met him. They've been to mediation, and things improved significantly when we moved closer. Now that partner isn't there, issues arose again. Stepchild was supposed to be catching a flight to us. Partner covers the full cost. No arguments or issues from him, as that's what bio mum expected, cause he moved back and she was unable to drive to meet halfway. They were late to the flight, and it quickly escalated due to her believing it's partner's fault, as he didn't inform her she was supposed to be there an hour before the flight. He believes that's common sense. A $50 fee was added to get SC on the next flight. Bio mum expected partner to pay as he covers travel costs, but he said no, as it was her mistake. He also explained how when giving the options of flight times, he was budgeting for $80 less than the flight she chose, as the more expensive ones suited her best with work, childcare plus travel to airport. Again, no problem, we made it work. There was nothing left in the travel budget without compromising the weekly food budget to cover the extra fee. We're living week to week, and every dollar is accounted for. Partner felt secure that he wasn't at fault or at any obligation to cover the fee due to her being late, arriving 30 minutes before the flight. As a result, bio mum has stated that this is the last flight SC will be catching, and it's now up to partner to drive and pick him up. Partner had to opt for flights as it's a 8-hour round trip one way. With no stops for food, toilet, and with no traffic or roadworks, which isn't doable with a full-time job, and having to complete 2 of these trips in a week, the travel takes it out of anyone, because she has a history of saying this and following through, making it difficult for partner to see their child. He reacted differently. He was at complete peace and just looked at me and said he needs to get a lawyer and it's time for family court. He doesn't have the time or energy to worry how he'll get his child or if he'll get them, so is wanting something legally binding and concrete. I've been sleeping on it. This is going to open a can of worms, and at the end of the day only one person is truly affected, hurt by all of this, their child. I've personally been through family court with my eldest, but he was a newborn. I know the stress, pressure and drama that can take place before anything is signed off and sealed. Before taking this massive and costly step, I'm looking for advice. Yes, it is simple and easy to pay her back that $50 to avoid all of this. However, when does that end? At what point will enough be enough? The last time he went to a lawyer before mediation, partner was sending her $200 on top of child support just to see their kid. If he didn't pay, she didn't meet him. The lawyer put an immediate stop to this, and it looks like it's slowly happening again. So, is my partner overreacting choosing family court? He'll be in contact with a lawyer over the next few days. Thank you Story 2 AIO for threatening to take my sister to court after her toddler destroyed my $2,000 gaming setup because she said I should have baby-proofed my apartment. Hi Reddit. I'm F25 and I'm honestly at my breaking point with this one. I need outside perspective because my entire family is acting like I'm Hitler for standing my ground. So, I, 25 years old female, am a student software developer and a pretty serious PC gamer in my free time. I live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment that I've spent years making cozy and functional. I saved up for a long time to build my dream PC setup. triple monitors, custom mechanical keyboard, ergonomic chair, the works. Altogether, my rig is worth a bit over $2,000, and I take care of it like it's a damn child. Last weekend, my older sister, 30 years old female, asked if she could crash at my place for one night because her apartment was being fumigated and her husband was out of town. She has a 3-year-old son, Max, who's, let's say, spirited. I love him, but he's a little chaos goblin. I hesitated, but she swore she'd keep an eye on him and that it'd just be for one night. They show up Saturday afternoon, and immediately it's clear she wasn't kidding about Max being a handful. Within 10 minutes of arriving, he'd pulled 4 books off my shelf, thrown my houseplants on the floor, and spilled juice on my area rug. I tried to stay chill. He's 3, I get it. But I asked my sister politely to please keep him out of my office where my PC setup is. She rolls her eyes and goes, "He's just exploring, he's curious, it's normal." But she closes the office door anyway. Cut to Sunday morning. I wake up to screaming. Max had apparently woken up before his mom, managed to open the office door, and decided my setup was his new jungle gym. He pulled down one of my monitors, cracking the screen. He stuck crackers into the PC tower's ventilation slots. I'm not kidding. Yanked out my keyboard's keycaps and had colored on my chair with permanent marker. The cherry on top. He poured apple juice into the tower. Into it. When I tell you I went silent, I mean dead silent. My sister comes in, sees the damage, and just says, "Oh no," in this incredibly flat tone like someone knocked over a cup of coffee. I start freaking out, and she has the audacity to say, "You should have baby-proofed the room if it was that important to you." I lost it. I told her that 1, she knew he wasn't supposed to be in there, 2, this is my space, not a damn daycare, and 3, baby-proofing a $2,000 gaming setup is not a standard requirement for adults living alone. She told me to calm down and said that he's just a kid and stuff is replaceable. I told her she could replace it then. She said she didn't have the money right now, but maybe in a few months she could give me a few hundred. I told her that wasn't acceptable, and that she needed to take full responsibility. She left in a huff, and now my whole family is blowing up my phone. My mom says I'm being materialistic, and should understand that my nephew didn't mean it. My dad said I should have locked the door if it was that important. My brother actually said, "Why do you even need 3 monitors anyway? That's kind of overkill." I've filed a claim with my insurance, but there's no guarantee it'll be covered since it was technically guest damage. I also told her that if she does not pay up, I'll take her to court for what happened. Now I'm getting texts from my sister demanding an apology for blaming her kid for being curious. I told her I'd drop it if she covered the cost of repairs and replacements, or at least met me halfway, and she blocked me. So, am I overreacting if I take my sister to court over this update? Wow. Just wow. 4 hours later, I wake up from my nap to this. Thank you guys, it'll take a bit for me to read all of this. My sister still has not unblocked me, but her husband reached out to find out what happened. I'm sorry I don't have more to tell yet, but I'll update again when I do. Seriously, thanks for the insights everyone. My head is a lot clearer now. Update 2. Hey all. My sister's husband reached out as mentioned earlier, and we're working out a solution if possible. He's been really understanding, as have all of you. Also, to clarify the office situation, my 1-bedroom apartment is on the smaller side, 33 meters to 355ths of a square foot, so the landlord converted an old ex-clothes cabinet into a makeshift office. It's weird, but the building is from the 40s, and they had to get creative with the space with an old tenant or something. So it's living room, sister and her kid slept there, plus kitchen, I slept there, plus the office. Thanks for all the support. And the award. I really don't have the words for how nice people have been in both DMs and the comments. Relevant comments. Comment 1: nor that kid is a menace, and parents are on the hook financially for whatever their dumb kids do. Your relationship with your family has already taken a hit, so I understand why you're concerned about souring it even further. Stop trying to text your family for a moment. Before heading to small claims court, collect up your evidence. Purchase receipts for the damaged items, photographs of the damage, and screenshot downloads of what replacements costs from various online retailers, because what you paid originally might not be enough with the new trade war going on. Include the text showing your sister refusing to take responsibility for her child's damages, and your parents and brothers blaming you for allowing her child to trash your stuff. To go above and beyond, price out local hotels in your area, showing what a night in a hotel or respectable motel would have cost your sister had she gone that route instead. If your parents and/or brother live in the area as well, include a map of the distance from your sister's place to one of their homes, showing she could have easily stayed with one of them. Make 5 additional copies of your evidence file, keeping the original in a safe place. Attempt to set up a meeting with your sister and with your extended family if they are in the area. If they agree to meet, present your sister, your parents, and your brother each with their own copy of your evidence file. Tell them that you don't want to take sister to court, but that you did her a favor, and in exchange she allowed her child to trash your expensive equipment. You shouldn't have to pay for her mistake. If they, the other adults in the family, want to shoulder the replacement costs between them, then there will be no need for small claims court. If they all expect you to shoulder the costs alone for doing your sister a favor, tell them you will secure a lawyer and add the legal fees and damages for the harassment that they have committed. Their response will be whatever it is. And it might get very ugly. Remain calm and do not raise your voice. Leave if they start being unreasonable. You'll have your answer. If they see the extent of the damage and your sister pays up, or the rest of the family chips in to help, then you'll get your replacements and everything will eventually blow over. If they dig their heels in and start calling you names, then it's time for the lawyer comment to you really need to paint a clear picture on how bad the water damage is. There's a possibility that they might shrug it off, saying that the juice your niece poured into your CPU to not be a big deal, and that it's fixable. Or worse, maybe they thought that it would be the same as a water-resistant phone getting splashed by water. It is NOT. Aside from the evidence this guy said for you to compile and document, I also suggest for you to get a quote on how much it will cost fixing the water damage. I assure you, it might have been between $300 minus $600 or maybe more, since removing sugary stain on Mobo is super tedious and difficult, and most of the time is not worth it. You need to drill this fact inside their head that the cracked monitor is not salvageable, and the cost to repair the CPU is definitely going to be high, so that they won't just tell you to send it to shop and fix it. Is the CPU safe? Have you tried to switch it on? If this happened recently, I suggest for you to wait for it to dry up first before you check its condition. Comment 3. No more offers to meet halfway or split the cost of the damage. This is all on your sister and her husband to completely replace everything and make your gaming system exactly the way it was before your sister and her demon spawn stayed overnight and she failed to supervise him. The next comment that comes out of the flying monkey family can be met with a question. Would they be okay with thousands of dollars of their personal items destroyed? Would they just go replace it themselves, or would they expect that the person responsible for the destruction should have to pay for it? If your nephew took scissors Sharpies and destroyed the interior of one of their cars, would they laugh it off and go get it repaired at their own expense? No, they wouldn't, and they would all be angry, and justifiably so. Every single one of them who is supporting your sister and taking her side can dig into their pockets and help your sister with the expense of replacing all of your damaged items. Comment 4. Another thing to consider is that the door was shut. She said she'd keep an eye on him, and the sheer amount of time it must have taken for him to do all that damage. He could have been hurt while clambering over the monitors. If that had happened, I'm sure she'd be holding you responsible. Her soon got hold of crackers and put them in the vent slots. So, how did he get the crackers? Did your sister give them to him? If so, why was he wandering around with food unsupervised? What if he'd choked? All of this sounds like he was unsupervised for a substantial amount of time. That's negligence update. Hey again. Just wanted to post a quick update since it's been a little under a week and a few people asked what happened next. Things are better, pretty darn weird, and still ongoing, but here's where we're at. Last Saturday, my brother-in-law, Bill, came over to check out the damage himself. He actually brought Max, toddler, with him, which I was almost livid about at first, but he had a reason. He asked Max to try opening the office closet door. The kid couldn't do it. The door was too heavy for him. You probably can guess where this is going. Bill offered to take my PC to the store that originally built it for me, just to see what was fixable. I agreed, but asked for something in writing just so I had some peace of mind. We put together a little agreement that he'd be responsible for it while it was with him. Yeah, it was just a formality and would not hold much merit anywhere, but it helped me feel a bit more in control. On Monday, he dropped it off at the shop and gave them my number so they could keep me updated. He also told me he confronted my sister about how things played out. I sent him my original Reddit post too. He read the comments and apparently showed them to her. She still hasn't unblocked me, and from what I've heard, was not happy about the fact my Bill is actually listening to me. I also shared the post and some comments with my parents and brother, since no one really believed me before. My parents still don't fully get it, but they've at least stopped pushing back. My brother is more understanding now, though for some reason he mostly wanted to talk about how many people saw the post. I don't think either of those three still care really, and I'm fine if they see this. Do better. Anyway, I went to see the PC today, Wednesday here. The shop said it's mostly salvageable. It needs a very, very careful internal clean and a few fans replaced and some wiring fixed, but overall the main parts survived somehow. Bill told me he'll cover the cost of the repair, no hesitation. When I brought up what my sister said about not being able to pay even $200, he said she's lying. He also said he's not sure Max actually did all the damage. He thinks the door was left open on purpose, or that my sister might have even done some of it herself. Based on the height of the tower and where the crackers ended up, it didn't quite add up to a toddler acting alone. Apparently, she's been telling him I have a gambling addiction. I did get a bit hooked on Genshin like 4 years ago, I guess, and that maybe this whole thing will wake me up, which is new. She used to be supportive, or at least indifferent. No idea where that switch came from, so yeah. That's where we're at. My PC is being cleaned up and fixed, and BIL is covering the cost. Sister still has me blocked and won't talk to me. Still tempted to start something with her TBH, especially if she actually did all of this on purpose. Still not ruling out small claims court depending on how things go. Thanks again to everyone who responded to the original post. Seeing how many people understood what happened really helped me hold the line with my family when I felt like I was losing my mind. One thing I've been turning over in my head lately is what if my sister did do something to my setup on purpose? I don't want to believe that. It feels like a stretch, but the more I think about it, the less so, I guess. But then I remember how she acted when I asked her to keep Max out of the office. The eye roll, and the he's just curious comments like she didn't take any of it seriously. And now hearing from my Bill that she's been saying I have a crippling gambling gaming whatever addiction, and needed to grow up, it's just weird. She used to be cool about it. Never super into games herself, but she got that it was important to me. If something changed, I don't know when or why. And if this was some weird way to make a point or teach me a lesson, that's messed up. You're not our mom. How about talking first instead of this? I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the more I think about it, the less it makes sense that Max could have done all of that alone. It's sick if she blamed her own son for it, so yeah. Not accusing anyone outright, but that thought is there now, and if you're my sister reading this, which I'm guessing you are, because I bet you'd love to look at the comments that are on your side a lot. Smiley face, I don't know why you blocked me. I don't know what shifted in your head about all this. But if you actually had anything to do with damaging my setup, whether it was on purpose or just through complete carelessness. Darn. You know I worked hard for that. You know what that rig meant to me, and you know I would never do something like this to your stuff, and if Max really did all of it on his own, I hope you're paying closer attention now. Not for my sake, but for his. Read the comments on my first post again, from other parents and people with younger siblings who clearly know better than you. That's all. Thanks for reading those who did. Story 3. My wife left me and has moved in with another guy claiming they're just friends, and she's freaking out now that I've stopped paying her spousal support under directions from my lawyer. Am I overreacting? In November, my wife unilaterally called upon us to separate, saying she's been unhappy for some time. Not long after this, I found out that she went out to the movies with this guy while we were still married, on her birthday while I was working overseas, and within days of the separation has now moved in with this guy. My lawyer has advised me under the state law that she is not owed spousal support because all evidence suggests she has cheated. Although she claims she has every right to see or sleep with other people once we are separated. The lawyer believes that no court would see it that way, and that I'm fully justified in using these legal protections. Am I overreacting by cutting her off financially? After all, she left me and didn't even attempt reconciliation. Should I really be paying for her new life with this new guy? There's no evidence she can provide that might prove she's just friends, so I am expected to just take that on face value and keep providing for her. Update. Thank you all for your feedback and support. Obviously, I'm following the advice of my lawyer. This post for me was about seeing how normal people react to this situation, and me double-checking my gut instinct here that her take that they're just friends would never pass the smell test for the average Redditor. And that's clearly the case. Because she keeps telling me it's just my naivete and lack of experience, when in reality she's just a cheater. And for all those talking about self-respect, etc., I also can't just destroy my ex financially without good cause. That's not my style. But she's not my problem anymore. Story 4 AIO. By telling my friend to break the custody agreement, I, 44 years old female, have been good friends with M, 44 years old male, for nearly 5 years. M has full custody of his son, H, 10 years old male, but follows the established court order for H to have visitation with his mother a few times a year, including H spending all summers with her. H is always happy to go visit and spend time with his mom and half-siblings. Mother lives out of state, about 4 hours away by car. This summer, things are different. Less than a week after being dropped off, H has been calling M frequently saying he wants to go home. Mother has a history of severe mental illness, huge reason why M was awarded custody, currently untreated, and is in the midst of a breakdown because her partner is leaving her. She is threatening to harm herself, screaming at the kids, and locking herself in her room at times. H is terrified. Hell, I'm terrified for him. M won't go pick him up, despite what H is witnessing, because he's worried if he breaks the agreement they'll have to go to court again, and his breaking of the agreement will make him look bad. I told M I think it's far worse that he's leaving H there and allowing him to deal with the situation. At worst, Mom could pull some kind of harm-suicide. M says this is unlikely, as some of her kids are adults and could easily fight her off. Also, she has no history of hurting any of her kids, and she loves them deeply. At best, H is going to end up traumatized from spending a summer with his mother when she's completely unstable. Yet all M tells H when he calls begging to come home several times a day is that he can't pick H up due to the agreement, and he'll have to stay there. I'm upset with M for ignoring his own son's cries for help. I've always believed you should never ignore a child in trouble, even if it's not your kid. See, hear something, say something, because there may be no one else who does. I've been tempted to drive to get H myself, just to get him out of there, because he's clearly worried and very unhappy. I don't see how M can ignore all of that just because of a court order. Am I overreacting? Story 5 Am I overreacting for feeling weird about an 8 years younger colleague trying to court me? Hi, I made this account because I'm losing my mind over something that's happening at work, and I really need some perspective. I, 30 years old female, work at a music academy, and I've basically grown up here. I started as a trainee when I was 10, became an instructor at 25, and now I'm one of the more senior staff members in the vocal block. I'm pretty well liked, or so I thought, and known for being friendly, maybe a little too talkative, and yeah, I have a bad habit of treating younger people like babies. It's kind of my thing. There's this guy, 22 years old male, who works in the instrumental block. He joined the academy 4 years ago as a reception intern, and worked his way up to being a music technician and guitar teacher. He's super quiet, though he's only 22. I barely knew him until 2 months ago, when we were both picked to manage a big student recital together. At first, I didn't think much of him. He was polite but kind of stiff, and since I'm a naturally chatty and playful person, I went out of my way to make him feel comfortable. I told him to stop calling me senior, we're in Korea, so workplace hierarchy is a thing, and just use my name. As we worked together, he started opening up. He told me he'd admired me for years, that he'd watched my performances when he was younger, and that I was kind of an inspiration to him. I'll admit it felt nice to hear that. I joked that he should show me his guitar skills sometime, and he smiled for the first time, like really smiled, and said he would. He started bringing food to work, homemade meals, and offering it to me, saying things like, "I thought you might like this." He'd linger in my workspace even when he didn't need to be there, always finding excuses to chat. I thought he was just being friendly, and since I'm known for being the bubbly, approachable type, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Then the recital ended, and the rumors started. Coworkers began giving me side eyes and whispering whenever he'd stop by. A few even asked me outright if we were dating. I was completely thrown off. What? Dating? But I laughed it off and said no. I figured it was just harmless workplace gossip. But last night my close junior, who's also this guy's friend, hit me with a bombshell. He told me this guy has had a crush on me since he joined the academy 4 years ago. According to him, this whole time he's been admiring me from afar, and now that we've worked together, he's been trying to make his move. Now I feel like I'm spiraling. On one hand, I'm flattered, and yeah, he's sweet, talented, and clearly very into me. But on the other hand, he's 22. That's an 8-year age gap, and I've been at this academy for 2 decades. I literally watched this place grow up with me. The idea of dating someone who was still a teenager when I was already an instructor feels weird. If I gave this a chance, wouldn't it look unprofessional? Like I'm crossing some kind of line. I also feel guilty, because maybe I unintentionally led him on by being so friendly and coddling. I can't tell if I'm overthinking this or if my gut is right to be worried. Story 6 AIO that my ex wants to move to Florida and take our 10-year-old daughter. Hey everyone. 30 years old male, am feeling incredibly defeated right now, and I just need to be heard. My ex dropped a bombshell on me. She wants to move to Florida within the next couple of months and take our 10-year-old daughter with her. I'm heartbroken and frustrated. Florida is so far away from where we currently live, and it would mean significantly less time with my daughter. Plus, uprooting her from her school, friends, and everything she knows seems so unfair. I feel like I'm being backed into a corner with no say in the matter. I want what's best for my daughter, but it's tearing me apart to think of her so far away. Has anyone been through something similar? Any advice or words of support would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for letting me be heard. Update. Her mother, 28 years old female, is going to live with her sister that lives in Florida while she's being deployed for 1.5 years. We have no custody agreements, nor have the courts ever been involved since we separated. I understand there are a lot of things I should have done but didn't do when we broke up. I have helped in many ways. I've always helped with money via Cash App for things my daughter has needed that I've sent to her mother. I thought keeping the courts out of the picture was the right thing to do, considering we have always been on great terms and helped each other out when it came to our daughter. It's truly been a back-and-forth deal. Seemingly now, I feel it wasn't in my best interest to not involve the courts when we separated. I'm an extremely active father and very much care about my daughter's well-being in every aspect. Story 7 AIO by doing a deep dive investigation on my co-parent's partner that lives in her home with our child. All long story, but I'll try to be as brief as I can. My co-parent and I share 50% physical and legal custody of our 9-year-old daughter. I'm dad. Things have usually been pretty good between us, and we make a great parenting team. However, about 8 months ago, my daughter's mom got with a new partner. We've been broken up a very long time, 7 years, and she is usually very open about who she is with. But she has been in a lot of violent relationships a very long time ago. However, she has been extremely secretive about this guy. I found out when she told me that she wanted to move into his home with our daughter about 100 miles away from where she currently is. My daughter goes to school in my school district, and they had only been together for 6 weeks at the time. So I said she is free to move wherever she wants, but I would not approve changing my daughter's school. She did not take this well at all. She called me crying the next day, saying that this partner, who she says she was extremely in love with, would leave her if they did not move in together. Which was a huge red flag for me. I asked her to introduce me to him, or perhaps we could all do something together, but she refused. Which was odd. She wound up staying where she was, and I found out through my daughter that this partner had moved into their home. I asked Mom about this and she said yes, he lived there. But only when my daughter was there, so they could get to know each other. This really scared me, and I demanded to know who he was. She refused again, and said I was out of line for demanding to know his name. Then my daughter informed me that her partner's 19-year-old son also lived in the apartment. About 2 months later, my daughter said that they were wrong, and this guy was actually just the partner's friend, and that Mommy and her partner got in a big fight about it because he had lied about the relationship. This whole thing ruined our co-parenting relationship, and we started fighting like crazy. I didn't want to have to go to court, so I suggested that my co-parent and I attend counseling sessions with a specialist to learn to co-parent together again. We attended about 6 sessions together, and the conclusion came to was that the only issue was her flat refusal to give me any information about this guy whatsoever, and her defense of his identity. The counselor made it very clear that I had every right to know who was sharing a home with my daughter. The counselor convinced Mom to at least introduce him to me. So Mom brought him with her when we did an exchange. I introduced myself to him and shook his hand. He was about 7 inches taller than me, far more fit, and would obviously destroy me in a physical confrontation. Yet he refused to make any eye contact with me. He shook my hand and then ran back to the car. The entire time we were in counseling, Mom said over and over again our daughter was safe, and this partner was the kindest and gentlest person she had ever been with, and couldn't hurt a fly. Our parenting plan doesn't say anything about having to disclose the identities of partners, and my daughter had nothing bad to say about the guy. So I had to let it go for a bit. The final straw came when my daughter made a comment to me about the kind of car the guy drives. I didn't really think much about it. I don't ask her questions about the guy, or pry, because I don't want to involve my daughter in all this. I just make sure she is comfortable coming to me if anything is happening. Well, a few weeks later my daughter disclosed to me that her mom had found out that she had made this comment about the car he drives, and screamed at her for telling me this useless information about him. And then the very next day, they went and bought him a new car. This scared me to death because it became very clear something was being hidden, and this wasn't just a matter of wanting privacy or enforcing boundaries. So I did an investigation, found his social media, and then hired a private investigator to reveal his identity. Once I got his name, I did the normal searches for arrest records and found a history of domestic violence. One case was from 2021 and involved felony assault with a deadly weapon, kidnapping, robbery, and battery on a household member. All felonies other than the battery charge, all of these charges had been dismissed. There was an older case for domestic violence from 2010 as well. But the most concerning ones were 2 cases of battery on a household member that took place when they were together and living in the same home as my daughter. These had also been dismissed. I did a public records request to get the police reports for these 2 incidents. On one occasion they were having an argument, and he grabbed her by the neck and slammed her down. Then he pulled her across the room by her hair, ripping a chunk of it out. On another occasion they were fighting, and he struck her across the face. When she tried to FaceTime her dad to help her, he ripped the phone out of her hand and hit her again. The dad was listed as a witness. He was arrested both times, but the cases were later dismissed. My daughter was not present for either of these incidents. For one, she was with me, and the other, she was at school. Before I knew she wasn't there, I sent a text message to my co-parent and asked her if our daughter was in the home when he choked her. At first, she denied that any of this happened. But when I gave her the date of the incident that happened when our daughter was at school, then she admitted that it had happened. But it was actually just a misunderstanding. I informed her that I had the whole police reports and knew everything about the incident, she assured me that the whole thing was actually her fault, as she is the one that escalated it. But she assured me that none of this happened when our daughter was in the home. That's when I looked closer at the police report and saw that it happened in the AM and not in the PM. When our daughter was not there, I told her that I had serious concerns about our daughter living in a home with someone that has a history of domestic violence. Even if there were no convictions, she told me the reports only tell one side of the story and that he was not the aggressor. But then I told her that I had requested and would be reviewing the body cam footage of the incidents. She flipped out on me and accused me of stalking her and demanded to know how I got her partner's information. I simply told her all of this stuff was public record and I had every right to access it. She then hung up on me and informed me she would be calling the police to report me for stalking and that it was incredibly inappropriate to look into things that had nothing to do with our daughter. No police came to talk to me or anything. She called me a few days later and I informed her that I needed a promise from her, that if there is ever any arguing in the home of any kind, that she is to send me a text message with a code word, and I would discreetly pick our daughter up without asking questions about what the situation is. And I told her my only interest is in making sure our daughter does not witness any violence. She agreed to this and promised she would. But at this point, I don't trust her at all. And I worry that her priority is protecting her partner instead of our daughter, or even herself. I will be taking her back to court. But I have no idea where or how I will afford an attorney, so I am trying to work things out, but she is insisting that I am completely overstepping boundaries and that none of this is any of my business. She also says that if I take her back to court, she will tell them that our daughter is not actually my daughter biologically, which is something we have known since she was 2 years old. That's the whole reason the relationship ended. And it doesn't really matter at this point. I am my daughter's legal father and am on the birth certificate and have acted as dad since before she was even born. She also says that I will lose because I don't respect her privacy enough. Please give me some perspective here. Have I overstepped my place? I think I may have overstepped a bit by hiring the private investigator. But the aim was only to protect my daughter. And I feel like, based on what I learned, the ends justify the means. Any advice you can give will be amazing.